In this video, I'll look at decay in lights as a way of making the light fall off over distance. I've finished out the lights in my scene, at least under the buildings. You can see here lots of spots that I've cloned under the entries of all the buildings. Wherever this city is, they felt the need to have protected entries, maybe because of rain or something similar. And so all the entries are recessed, a great place to put in extra lighting to show off the lobbies. We'll let the apartments and offices above then be darker here, simply illuminated by their textures. With lights in place like this, I need to get the street lights in and up lights on the buildings to really bring their surfaces to life instead of letting them recede into the dark of the sunset. I'll start out maybe in a top view, pressing Z to zoom extents and switch to a wireframe, zooming in on, let's say, building 1. I'm going to put some lights next to the building that project up along the skin, giving us parabolic arcs of light. I'll go to the Create tab and over to Lights, and down under Lights, let's look at Standard. I'll make a free spot, clicking once in the scene and right-clicking to stop creating. In a front view then, this free light is a cone, with the hotspot inside shown in light blue and the fall-off in the dark blue outside. Going to the modifier panel then shows it as a spotlight with no shadows, and down here is the second rollout for intensity, color, and attenuation. First, I'll take this light, press E for rotate, A for angle snap if it's not already on, and rotate it up. A lot of times what we'll see in a building is that lights are aimed up the building, often from the ground or maybe from fixtures alongside. I think that this side ledge here provides a perfect place to put my lights in. We may not actually see the fixtures as much as need to see the light from it. Alternately, I can simply put it along the ground here, but this way I don't have to build in a fixture. I'll turn off my snap, pull it up, and check in a left view, making sure it's at the right height. In a top view then, I'll zoom in and get it close, and name this light. Right now it's called F-Spot 01. I'll call this light Building 1 Uplight 01. Now for the decay section. I'm going to leave it as a white light with a multiplier of 1 until I get some tests in. The idea in decay then is rather than the light extending on infinitely until it shadows, and I don't have shadows on, the light is governed by a relationship. If we drop down here under none, we have our decay showing as none inverse and inverse square. Here's how this behaves. No decay means this light carries on forever. Inverse means that the light falls off evenly over distance, twice the distance, half the light. Inverse square then is, well, inverse square, twice the distance, 1/4 the light. I'll try it first with none, cloning the light so we can see it cleanly on the building and doing some test renders. I'll clone this out, holding Shift to clone, and cloning as an instance, making 2 copies. This way I've got 3 lights along this building. I'll hit L for left, P for perspective, Z to zoom extents, and F3 just to make sure it looks okay, and back out a little bit. I'm going to start maybe here, seeing how these uplight the side of that building. I'll pull up my rendered frame window and make sure I have a region in place, dropping down to refresh the region by choosing Region, or clicking on the Region button to edit the region. What I'll do then is make sure that this region covers just the side of that building to economize on render time. And when I'm ready, I'll hit Render. What we can see here is it leaves the side of that building, well, fairly bright. There's a little bit of a hint of the light down here, but not much at all. Here's how I'll change this light then. I've got one of them selected, and because it's an instance, they'll all change. First, I'm going to brighten it up. Maybe trying a multiplier of, let's say, 4. I'll hit Escape to make sure I get out of the region, and put that multiplier in. Then I'll go into the spotlight parameters. In this case, again, we're seeing hotspot and fall-off expressed as angles. Right now they're very tight and very close. I'll try, for example, a hotspot of 25 and a fall-off of 50. I'll try one more region render and see if this shows up. There's the start of my light here. I may actually want to pull them out and angle them in. I'll go into a front view and pick these lights, windowing around all 3, moving them out, angling them over to the building by pressing E for rotation, and just 5 degrees. I'll bring up their multiplier a little more. Here's 12. And see how this looks. Pressing P for perspective, Alt to zoom around, and testing out that region again. Again, I can go into the rendered frame window and click on the Edit Region button, and I'll see my region both in the viewport, there it is, and in the rendered frame window. I'll pull this open and hit Enter, and it'll start to render. There's my light showing up a little better. And now I'm going to work on the decay, because this light will simply continue on forever. Here's how decay looks. Switching the type over to inverse, for example, hitting Escape to get out of the region, makes this light fade off after 40 inches, and I can click Show, which shows me here in green where that decay begins. It's full strength from the point of the light out to that range, and falls off inversely, well, forever, until then. I'm going to bring out the start radius, maybe out to, let's say, almost 100, and try another render and see what I get. It's a little better, and maybe I'll back out the rendering to check it out, but I've got a nice parabolic arc of light here that fades smoothly up the building. When we pull back a little bit and edit that region, we'll see this render in action. Again, I'll go into the rendered frame window, edit the region, and make sure I'm showing the right thing. If you notice here in the rendering, I'm being very careful what I am rendering, because I can pull down a lot of time doing this. That's better. There's my light on the building, decaying off softly, and letting the rest of the texture show. I'll bring up the multiplier a little more, hitting Escape one more time, and cranking it up. Remember, if it looks right, it's right, so don't be afraid to really pull that up high. I'll render again and see how it is. That's what I want. It's a nice bloom of light, and they fade smoothly up the surface, leaving it generally illuminated by the texture. For comparison, we can switch over from inverse to inverse square, and we'll see a noticeable difference as this light fades off almost immediately. I pressed F9 to render again, and we can see that light start sharply and fade out, and there's a big difference. It's really up to you which one you'd like to use. True lights behave in an inverse manner. We have inverse square because computer lights sometimes look better with it. And so we have the choice in there of where does that decay start and what method are we using to get the light in the right place. The last thing I'll do then is bump up that multiplier a little more, maybe 45. And the reason I can go this high is because of that photographic exposure, governing or tone mapping my image. There's a nice bright point on the building, fading out smoothly and not affecting the rest of the lighting. And I'm ready to take these uplights and copy them around to the other locations in my scene, uplighting the buildings for dramatic effect.